Thank you. Welcome back to Floyd County Emergency Management. Today I am joined again by our friends from the fire department. I don't think introductions are necessary, but let's run through it real quick. Y'all are?
I'm Linda Patty with the Rome Fire Department, a fire and life safety educator.
Okay.
Shasta Fair, a fire and life safety educator from the Rome Floyd Fire Department.
And educators, it's not only schools and stuff. Y'all are going to events, but you also go and talk to civic groups, neighborhood groups, and things like that, right?
Anybody that calls us, yeah.
Why, if I live in the same house and I'm looking at the same table in the same chair every day, why is it different when there's a fire all of a sudden? Why do I need to practice?
Because you're going to panic. Doesn't matter how Superman you think you are, you're going to panic in an emergency situation. And you need to know mainly how you're going to get out. Do all your windows open? Are your doors blocked? And where you're going to meet up at, your family or, your animals. You got to know, have a plan. It's like Shasta says, you don't take the football field without practice.
Right.
So you need a plan.
So your front yard and your backyard are probably going to look a lot different during a fire, right? You're going to start to have some company. Fire department's going to be there.
Yes.
So that's why it's important to have a meeting place, right?
And you rarely you don't want to ever let that be your backyard.
Why is that?
Well, if you've got fences, you'll be trapped. And if you're in the back, you're not accountable. The fire department can't see you. So they're not going to be able to see, is everybody there? Is everybody out of the house? Because that's their whole purpose, is saving lives. Then they'll save the property.
And that's going to be one of the first questions they ask when they get there, right?
Very first questions.
Yes. So the first thing that you need to do to create this game plan, a home escape plan, is call a family meeting. Say, hey, we need to know exactly what to do if we had a fire in this house, how to get out. So take a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Draw out your house, all the rooms. If you have upstairs, downstairs, do both floors. Draw all the exits, windows, and then talk about it and say, okay, we need to find 2 ways out of each room, because if fire or smoke was blocking one way, you need to have a backup plan. And this is stuff that when you have a fire, we want you out of your house in 2 minutes or less. You don't have a lot of time to sit there and think about, like, where am I going? What do I need to do? We want you to have this in motion and know what to do before a fire even happens. Hopefully it never happens and you just have this plan just because. But so come up with 2 ways out, and then create a meeting place in the front yard like Linda was talking about. And because if you did have a fire, people may be coming out the back of the house, the sides, the front, all different directions, but they need one central location in the front yard to go to. And that way when the fire department shows up, says, hey, is everyone out? If everybody knows where to go and everybody's here, we can say, yep, they're all out. They go into firefighter mode. But if somebody's missing, they can say no, and they know they're supposed to be here. They were last seen here. They can go into rescue mode, and so it makes their job a whole lot easier knowing, is everyone out, everybody accounted for. So, yes, having a plan is very important, and then also practicing that plan. Fires happen at all times of the day, not just during the day. It happens at night. So have a fire drill, just like how schools have fire drills. If you asked any kid sitting in a classroom, say, hey, if the fire drill was, if the fire alarm was to go off right now, what do we do? Majority of the time, they can tell you where to go and where to stand outside, and it's because they practice it once a month. We need to do the same thing at home, because majority of fires are going to happen at home. Getting low, because we don't want you standing up while trying to get out. Hot air rises, and so does the smoke. And so you need to crawl below the smoke. If you have stairs, don't go down them forward. You need to go down those backwards. So all of these little things. And then also you may find that you're trying to get out of a room, and you may have a piece of furniture that, walking into a room may be one thing, but when you have to get out and crawl, and also it's going to be dark. A lot of times the firefighters say they can't even see their hand in front of their face. So you're going to have to do a lot of feeling and feel your way out of the house. So it's a whole different ballgame when you're on the ground crawling versus how we walk around all the time.
So you talked about getting low. Why is that? I know, and I've looked ahead in the lesson plan. We talked about in class. Why do you get low?
Yeah.
You've got some variables in there, and you've got some science behind the madness, right?
Definitely. And of course, all this stuff is because, unfortunately, things have happened in the past, way in the past. And it's made us, get smarter with it. And, I mean, even now we learn something all the time about this. But, again, the heat's going to rise, and the smoke, you've got to get below it. We bake a cake at 350 degrees. So can you imagine actually trying to breathe in that heat with the smoke? So you've got to get low, real low, and stay below it. Now, eventually, it's going to bank off, and it's going to come back down because it's only got so far to go before it comes back down. But by then, if you've got a plan that we were talking about making, then you're going to be able to get out and get, or if you can't, you're going to be in a room, and you're going to cover the bottom of it with some cloth or something, anything, to keep the smoke out. And you're going to shelter in place until the fire department comes.
If I'm laying in bed and my smoke alarm goes off, am I going to wake up and see fire? How do I know that there's actually that my house is on fire?
Okay, so that's one of those things where you need to like retrain your brain. So if you're asleep and you hear your smoke alarm go off, you need to kind of train yourself to roll off of the bed. You don't ever want to jump up and go, because as soon as you do, your head level is at where the smoke and all the toxins and chemicals are at. And so you're going to breathe that in. It only takes one breath of that. And
Gosh.
yeah, and it can do serious damage or kill you. So you need to train yourself to roll off of that bed and immediately get low. So that's one of those things, like when you practice your home escape plan, practice it from getting out of the bed and rolling off onto the ground. And then
getting out, not
yes.
getting out. What do you do if you can't get out? What do you do if you're on the second floor, third
Right.
floor? You've got to. We don't live there, so a lot of people have asked us, "Can you tell us how to make our home escape plan?" We can give you some ideas, but unless you know your home, you can't. You can't do that. Just like in this room we're in, there's a lot of different ways that we could get out. But which one's the best way? Of course, the door is always going to be your best way out. But you want to make sure it's not hot.
You talked about 2 minutes to get out of a house. To me, that makes me think that people with mobility issues need to be on the first floor. They need to be close to an exit, correct?
Always.
yes.
Or that's the whole have a plan. If you've got that situation, then you've got that situation, and you've got to have your plan for that.
And the same thing goes for when you're creating this home escape plan. If you have small children or, anyone with disabilities or, any kind of mobility issue, keep all that in mind. And then the next thing that we're always asked is, what about pets? Do we go back and get the pets? And I know that everybody loves their pets, but the answer is no. So
Unless
pets,
they're right with you.
Yes, yeah. If they're right there, then okay, whatever. Take them. All you got to do is open the door; they'll run out.
Yep.
They're not. I mean, they have.
There's a survival instinct.
Yes,
They are.
absolutely. They're going to smell the smoke before you.
And hopefully they wake you up before the smoke alarm.
And
And
they
that
very well.
happens.
But don't rely on it. Have smoke alarms. Yes, don't rely on Lassie waking you up.
But let's go back to that first question that I asked about waking up. And am I going to see fire? I'm more than likely I'm not, because it's going to be dark in there, right?
Oh, it just depends on where the fire starts.
You can see a glow, but your nose goes to sleep when you go to sleep. So what's waking you up is either coughing from smoke or your smoke alarm. But the smell of smoke is not what's waking you up.
But the coughing would.
It's going to be the coughing. And as soon as you wake up, you're going to smell the smoke. So you're going to think that's what woke you up. But that's not it. So that's the importance of the working smoke alarm, and that's part of the home escape plan. Make sure you've got one. If you have hard of hearing, make sure that you have the smoke alarms that work, the lights or the vibration that they can put under a pillow. And we have them. So.
Yep, good. Well, and there's some benefit to sleeping with your door closed, right?
Yes,
Let's talk about that.
So we highly recommend you sleep with your door closed. That is like a firewall. All doors are graded, and so what that's going to do is the way that fire travels, it's going to stop that fire. So if everybody had their doors closed while sleeping and the fire started in the living room, and as it traveled, you're actually safer in your room. And so if you have your door closed, it's not going to just come into your room like if the door was open. So fill the door with the back of your hand. We say this because if the door is hot and it was to burn you, we'd rather you be burned with the back of your hand versus this because we want you to crawl out. Yep. That's going to hurt.
If it's hot, that means that fire's right there.
That's smart.
And do not open that door if it's hot or you see any kind of smoke. And that's when you need to go to your second way out, which at that point it's probably going to be a window unless you have another door. But make sure that you put something up underneath your door to block that smoke from coming in, because the more fresh air that you can have, the better off you're going to be. So talk as a family and say, hey, we're sleeping on the second floor. How can we safely get out? You may need to look at ordering fire escape ladders. That's what we did at our house. We taught the kids how to, like, where they're at, how to easily get to them, and how to use them, because that way we have another way to get out.
You've got to practice with those two, taking them
Absolutely.
out and climbing down the thing.
And time it.
Yes.
You want to time how long it takes, because even though your door's shut and you've got that fire on the other side, eventually it will breach that door eventually. But hopefully by then, of course, the fire department's there, police are there, you're rescued.
But now, with all of that said, if for some reason your door was blocked with fire or smoke and you can't exit that way, and you don't have a home escape ladder and there's no way to get out of your window, then that's when shelter in place is okay. And when we say that, we want you by the window, and don't go hide. Fire's scary. Don't go hide. Don't go into a closet, under the bed, nothing like that. Go to the window. If your door is closed, open that window, or find something, bust that window.
Door's got to be closed.
Yes, because we don't want that fresh air getting to that fire. So break that window so you can have that fresh air to breathe. And as soon as the fire department comes, you're going to make yourself big and you're going to make yourself loud. And you're going to say, hey, I'm right here.
Yep.
And as soon as the engine gets there, Captain's going to do a 360 all around the house. He's looking in every single window, and he's looking for people. And then he gets on the radio and says, hey, bring a ladder right over here. So it's okay. If you can't get out but find a window, make sure that door's closed, and they'll come.
Don't give up in the fight.
No,
make a lot of noise.
Do not go hide.
Make a lot of noise.
Yes.
So we talked about some good stuff. Let me talk about some things that I've seen out there, and I just want to ask you about it. Charging your cell phone at night, should you do that with the phone under your pillow or on the bed next to you? Why is that?
No. So
We're both going.
lithium. So in our phones, we have a lithium-ion battery. It's in a lot of things that we use now. They're handy. They're great. But the way the lithium-ion battery works is when you plug in the charger, it's creating the lithium ions to move around. Well, when something moves around, it creates friction, which creates heat. Well, if you put that up underneath your pillow, if you've ever charged your phone and you feel it and it's warm, that's warm is okay, but hot is not. So you don't want to put it up underneath the pillow where it's creating more heat. And beds burn really easy, unfortunately. So we've had them where they've caught on fire. So yes, we don't even recommend charging them overnight. I've gotten out of the habit of it, and my phone actually stays charged more.
So
now,
you the first time you said that, I've done that experiment, and it works.
Isn't it?
Yep.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And my watch is the same way. I
don't even charge it to 100. I'll let it go up to about 90 something. I'll unplug it, and overnight I let it die during the day.
That's one of those preventable fires.
Yeah.
Because you're asleep and it's charging, you're not going to know it until the smoke alarm's going off, which means there's fire and smoke. So definitely preventable.
Candles? Do we let candles burn overnight or while we're away from home?
Never.
Not even the wax pots that some people leave on during the day. None of that stuff. Or wall plugs. Those are very dangerous.
Even though they say, this one's safe for this and that, I always use the Titanic with my 5th grade. It wasn't supposed to sink. We all know how that one ended. So you can't trust all that. You've just got to be logical. I mean, think about it. It's plugged in. It's electrical. And you're going to leave it by itself. No, let's
and
don't do
it's
that.
heated and oil.
Yep.
Those don't go well.
So,
but no, candles, no. Only if you're in the room with the candle, then okay. I like candles. I like the way they smell. Mm-hmm. But only use them if you're right there with them. If you have to walk away, blow out the candle, put the lid on it. Yep.
I've had many kids tell me, my mom and dad, they'll light the candle in my room for me. I don't light it. Okay. whether you light it or they light it, you don't need a candle in your room.
They walk away and they leave an
yes,
open
you
flame.
don't need a candle in the room.
Yeah.
They think that because they didn't light it,
Right.
that it's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. Just get one of those with a battery.
Yeah, those are great. Flameless candles.
So I'm going to talk about one of your pet peeves. I know we shouldn't smoke in bed. I know we shouldn't go to bed with a cigarette because that's an open flame. But, you know, vaping is not a cigarette. Why? Vaping is the same.
Let Shasta check this one.
First of all, you shouldn't vape at all.
Yes, so
But
you're
that's all.
correct.
There's also a charging, and there's also
Yes, so you have the same lithium-ion battery. Some of them are rechargeable, some are disposable, but you still have that battery there. So they overheat. So the problem that we see in a lot of electronic cigarettes, vapes, is that they're not regulated. They're made cheap and fast. They don't go through the same testing like our cell phones or something like that go through. So when those are created, they overheat easily is where I'm going with this. And we've seen them where they explode. I mean, you can be using it and it can explode because all it takes is just a little bit of heat, body temperature, or mix it with metal. A lot of times we have keys and coins. Water, if you're sweaty, or if you drop it. A lithium-ion battery, if you were to dent it or puncture it, it starts to swell, and that's where the explosion happens. So they're very dangerous for your health and as a fire hazard as well.
all right.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by. It's been fun as always.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you looking into Floyd County Emergency Management, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.